this feels like a game that's important for both managers, doesn't it? You can see here in the head-to-head that Erik ten Hag has a better win percentage in all competitions, but has spent a lot more money, Martin, and he's won 2 trophies. But there seems to be a lack of consistency.
Definitely.
Manchester
They've
United.
lost both teams actually. They mirror each other, don't they? 2 defeats start of this season. I just feel that Ten Hag now, if you're going to stick with a manager who lost 13 Premier League games last year, I mean, it's quite astonishing that I think they're 8th in the table. We're all a little bit surprised they won the FA Cup, and that kind of saved him. He's under huge pressure already. A couple of draws he's had this week, and then you look at Ange at Spurs again, no trophy for the club since 2008, 16 years ago. So both clubs are, I mean, huge clubs, but. I just feel Spurs now will just turn the corner. I just like the way the manager is really getting in there. He's actually putting it on the line, saying, I win something in my second season every club I'm at. He's saying something there. Now, let's just see if they can do it. I think they drew Man City in the League Cup, which is a bit of a blow for them. But nonetheless, he's prepared to put it on the line. I like that.
A bit of a smile there, Farah, when he says he wins trophies in his second season. No, because it was smirk about.
No, because it was so. It reminded me a little bit of Mourinho when he came into Chelsea and said he was a special one and went on to win. It's interesting that people have jumped on that quote that he said. That's his facts. That's his journey that he's been on, and there's no denying that's happened. If you look at the kind of the management he's had, he does have to back it up. But what he said isn't a lie up to this point. So if he doesn't win anything this year, he won't no longer be able to say that quote. So it just made me laugh that everybody kind of jumped on that when he's only stating facts.
I like the way Brennan Johnson was a player that he was having a hard time. It really helped him. Then suddenly he scores in the next match. I like the way that there's a love of his players, a care for his players, and I think the top managers do that really well. So I think we should watch that with great interest.
What about Erik ten Hag then came out and questioned his players' mentality this week then, Farah? How does that make you feel as a player when your manager would do that?
Yeah, it was an interesting one, Alex. I watched the game and actually thought United were good, was in control of much of the game, pretty much in most games this season. They're not clinical in front of goal. They haven't got a goal scorer at the minute that's playing that's going to get you 20 plus goals. But there always seems to me to be problems with Erik ten Hag and his players and kind of out in his players. And I think as a player, some things you prefer to be kept in-house. I think he exposes quite a bit that goes on behind the scene. And we know this happens at a lot of clubs, but it's how you manage that in-house. I'm not sure he's too good at doing that. And I think, as a player and they're questioning your mentality, it's a bit of a low blow. I actually thought up until the goal, I think they were a little bit rattled after the goal, but did more than enough to win the game. So, yeah, it was, as I say, a little bit of a...
United we're talking about.
A little bit of a low blow.
We need to see better.
I just don't think he's the manager that is going to move this club forward. I think he got a lifeline in winning the FA Cup against Manchester City last year, and it was a lifeline for him. I don't think he's the guy. If we're honest, I don't think he's improved any individual there.
Well, he's going to need a win today, isn't he? Well, Brentford are at home against West Ham this afternoon, and Vicky Sparks is there for us.
Yes, welcome to West London, ahead of that game for Brentford against West Ham. It's been a tricky start for Brentford away from home. They've lost all 3 games in the Premier League, although really difficult fixtures, Liverpool, Manchester City and Tottenham. But they have been formidable at this stadium, 100% record in all competitions. I'm here with Dave Lane from the Be Sotted podcast. Dave, one thing we've noticed about Brentford this season, they keep scoring inside the opening 23 seconds. What's the key to that?
Winning the toss must help for sure. Being able to volley like Bryan Mbeumo, that's, it was a beautiful finish last week. So if it happens again today, I believe it's a thing. But I think they must be working on patterns of play. They must be working on what to do if they win the kick-off. So long may that continue.
You mentioned Bryan Mbeumo there. He's had a brilliant start to the season, and he's had to because you're suffering with injuries again, particularly in an attacking sense. Obviously, Ivan Toney leaving the club as well. The injuries, though, must be so frustrating.
It is really frustrating. It must be frustrating for Thomas because he's not been able to pick the team that I'm sure he expected to be able to do at this stage of the season. It's been brilliant that the players that have come in have done so well. We need them to continue to do that until we've got Thiago coming back. And I think as the season progresses, we should get stronger. So we just need to keep that home run going today.
So what would success be for Brentford this season?
Survival as a fan, I pinch myself still that we're here in the top flight. But as a club, they're always pushing. They won't be satisfied with just being here. So top half of the table, I think we can push further if we get the players in and they can start scoring. Anything's possible really, but we we just need things to start going our way a little bit more injury-wise.
And in terms of today, in terms of West Ham, how do you see this game going?
They're shaky. They're going to be nervous to come here, absolutely for sure. Our record against West Ham on this stadium and since we've been in the top flight has been excellent. I'm sure they're full of trepidation coming to New Griffin Park.
Thanks very much, Dave. Well, absolutely, as Dave mentioned there, Brentford have won every single home Premier League game against West Ham. Which way will it go today? We'll find out.
Thank you, Vicky. Well, I suppose that's Brentford covered, so let's quickly focus on West Ham. Not the best of starts to their season. A lot being spoken about being under pressure already. Do you see that, Lara?
I mean, it's too early to say, but I spoke to many West Ham fans last year, and my thing is, careful what you wish for, because Moyes got them to 2 Europa League league finals back to back and 1-1, top half of the table finish back to back, and they said their football wasn't attractive enough. Now they brought a manager in who I'm not sure is an attractive manager anyway in terms of his style of play. He is a defence-minded manager, but more possession-based. So I'm not sure it was a manager that the fans probably would have wanted. But you've made a big decision. The way that Moyes was treated was very disrespectful in my opinion. So I think you have to stick with him. I think, give him time. He has to rebuild this team. And the fans, booing him off already. They're not happy.
The West Ham fan is never going to be happy. And I'm just looking at the games they've lost to Villa, they've lost to City, lost to Chelsea. I'm not sure David Moyes would have won those games. And I think it's a little bit of a tactical issue that
I don't think they just lost, though.
Sorry?
I don't think they just lost. I don't think there were games they just lost. I think the batterings they're taking with that. I mean,
yeah, but under
Chelsea, they were at home.
Moyes wouldn't have probably won those games. I think Moyes played a different way. They weren't an energetic team. They sat quite deep, never really pressed high. And the new managers asked them to go after the opponent. And there's not a group of players that can cope with this. And sooner or later, there's going to have to be a little bit of a change. The manager's very strong in what he's doing. I think West Ham want to go to the next level to play a more progressive, get a more stylish style of play. And I don't necessarily if it's ready yet for that change. And that's what they're experiencing. But obviously today is a huge opportunity for them. Away at Brentford, who we know, I think they've been magnificent under Thomas Frank at the start of this season.
Okay, well, there's live WSL tomorrow on BBC Two as Manchester City take on Brighton. I'll be there alongside Farah and Steph Orton from 12:15. Well, Vivian Miedemar will be in action for City again, and she's been playing Unlocked with Leah McDevitt.
I feel a bit ashamed showing you this.
Viv, pleasure to see you.
Nice to see
All
you.
good?
All good.
Well, look, we're going to play a little game called Unlocks, which is just getting to know you a little bit better through your phone. Up for it?
Yeah, go for it.
We're going to play a photo roulette. Go to your photos. Scroll. When I say stop, you just have to show me a photo. Stop.
I mean, it's quite a nice one, I would say.
Ooh, very artistic.
Was in Bergen when we played there with the national team. I'm a good photographer.
I can see
I'm gonna-
if that's the standard of photos.
Exactly.
Then I like that. And one thing I always find funny when you leave a team or move on, did you do the I'm leaving the group chat? Did you?
Oh yeah, straight away. At Arsenal, we would just use it to inform people. So yeah, I wasn't really too set leaving the group chat.
Any secondary ones, like splinter group chats that you were a little bit
Nah,
more
they
let
knew
down?
that they had to put Beth in them because
Otherwise,
I would never look at it or text back.
on another episode of Unlocks, your teammate, goalkeeper, Kiara Keaton, she said, in an emergency, you'd be the person she would call.
I just feel like she's